What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you today with more Danmachi, and today we're talking very specifically about the 3 new gachas that are incoming tonight. Now, one thing that is worth noting here, first of all, I do want to say that these first 2 are a War Game specific gacha. Very specific to War Game. And if you really kind of want to think about this in a way, the War Game we just had was a pre-round for Familia War Game. And we're getting a War Game gacha after that War Game has ended when Record Buster is happening. I can almost guarantee you, within the next week or 2, we are going to get an announcement of Familia War Game. Probably not next week, because next week should be a regular War Game, but you never know. It could be they could run another Record Buster and then give us that. So, or they could run War Games side by side. It wouldn't be the first time they've done that. Usually it then turns into, you know, a non-scoring War Game, or a non-Iris yielding War Game. But either way, there's a Familia War Game incoming. It's not a bad time to stock up. Now, that said, these gachas, the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th pulls are all half price. That said, not a bad time. But we've got anniversary things coming up, and we've got the big JP anniversary coming up in just a couple of months. That is actually getting closer and closer and closer. You've got probably less than 60 days to prepare for that. So if you're really thinking about that, probably a good time to save, if I'm honest. Probably a good time to save. But either way, let's get into it. Let's talk about these 3 gachas. Let's move on. And make sure if you guys are hitting that, if you guys are enjoying this, hit that old thumbs up button. Helps the channel out, and consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell. Liking is redundant there, but hey, you know what? Subliminal messaging, right? Though if you call it out, you ruin it. Let's move on. We're going to talk, first of all, about Lily. This Lily, Unbreakable Heart Lily, interesting unit. Skill number 1. Now, first of all, before I get into the skills, notice she is all double S stats with just 1 single S on endurance, so she's going to be a really good unit all around. Skill number 1, Morphing. Fast, agility, and dex plus 25%. Allies, guard rate, and counter rate, 25%. Now, that could be really, 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 really clutch. That counter rate is going to help out in a lot of circumstances. But I don't know how crazy that is for War Game, if I'm honest. Counter rate could be really awesome for War Game. Guard rate, on the other hand, could be amazing for War Game. But I find debuffing is a little more appropriate in a lot of situations. I don't like turtling in War Game as much. Either way, skill 2, foes, plural, fast, low, water, physical attack with ultra and counter rate, removes fire, earth, and wind attack damage. So, in other words, except assist skills. In other words, you have other units that remove, strength buffs. Some remove strength and magic. Some just remove magic. If you run her with a unit that does that, and you're up against a fire, earth, and or wind unit, or, God forbid, a whole team, that's just going to take away their entire ability to produce damage. Like, they're just going to be down to basic level attacks. And they're not going to have any of those modifiers. And that's super handy. Super handy. But I know a lot of people are working on ailment teams right now, so let's talk about that. Skill 3, foes, plural, super water physical attack with ultra and counter rate, and max HP 25% damage with poison. So, in other words, she could straight up take 25% of the health of everybody on the team in 1 turn with poison. Not including the super water attack she's going to do on top of it. So if you buff water and let her do the poison, she's going to cripple an opponent. Pretty awesome stuff. Her SA is foes plural. Then most of these units are all going to be foes plural. Ultra water physical attack with temporary strength boost and ultra and guard rate and water resist minus 50%. But if I'm honest, most of the times you shouldn't be getting to doing SAs unless you're up against a really, really, really well-matched team. Hopefully in Familia War Game, you should be up against some well-matched teams. So you actually, in Familia War Game, probably should start thinking about SAs. But the goal is to actually take them out a lot quicker. And Lily has the capability to do that. So Lily, all around, I think just a really awesome unit. Really awesome unit for War Game. A mid. Let's do a mid. Skill number 1 is a foe singular. Now, most of the time in Wargame, you want foes plural, because any kind of effects you would have on foes singular isn't really going to be that good. But foe singular, slow, high, mid, wind magic attack. Allies remove curse and ailment cure. Now, once again, we talked about this before. Ailment teams are becoming really, really, really popular in Wargame. To remove that ailment is pretty awesome. She could just come in and go, like, basically, poison is applied to him, and she's just like, nah, bro, that's a done thing. That is not happening. So, and especially with sealing, because remember, sealing and taunting takes it basically affects the next turn more than it affects the current turn. So she's going to just be like, nah, that ain't happening, bruh. Sorry. No dice. Skill 1. Skills 2 is an ally's 30% HP regen, physical resist, and magic resist, plus 30% for 3 turns. And skill 3 is a foe's plural, fast, low wind magic attack with strength and magic and agility minus 30% for 2 turns. So we talked about how Lily just takes away some buffs. She reduces those buffs on your opponents. I prefer units that take it away completely, but it's not a bad option. If you've got 2 or 3 of her, it's not a bad opportunity to go in and kind of MLB her, because she's not going to be really that bad. And if you look at her stats, she's all S's with only 2 single S stats. Not as good, but still pretty good. Still pretty good. And that magic skill is really high for magic. Really, really, really high for magic. So, yeah. So, not a bad unit all around. Her SA is an Ultra Wind magic attack with temporary magic boost and magic resist and wind resist minus 35%. But once again, I don't think you're really going to get to that, if I'm honest. You shouldn't in most circumstances. Okay, let's talk about the assist that's on this banner. Outside Orario Eyes. Self-strength and agility plus 20%, so that's only to the unit she's applied to. We've talked about this before. Most units do all allies. She's only going to apply that to whoever she's attached to. That said, she does have a big debuff here. Foes, plural, damage received, attack all and single target, plus 10%. Now, I'm a bigger fan of running 2 assists that do bigger numbers in those things. But if you need 1 assist that does some really awesome stuff, that strength and agility 20% is going to help out some units. There's some units we have that, let's say if you're running a mostly magic team and you've got the 1 unit that's there to do damage, that actually is going to help that unit out. You guys have seen where you a lot of times use the now older from the movie Artemis assist that does strength 20% and 15% to all allies. So that can come in super handy if you're mostly magic or mostly element or mostly something like that, and you've just got the 1 strength unit that is there to produce damage. It's a possibility. It's a thought process. That said, for the single and all target, I prefer to run multiple units that have that. But her strength buff is way the hell up there. So if you have that 1 physical unit that really needs a good buff, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. Not my first pick, though, if I'm completely frank. Okay? Part 2. Special Wargame Gotcha. Okay? And I do believe that these units are going to be the primary featured units. And I don't know if there are going to be any other units that are going to be in the polls. Typically, these units are the ones that have at least the highest stats. I don't believe that there's going to be anybody else capable of being pulled, but we'd have to see what happens when we get the actual list. So if there is the possibility that you can get any 4-star on there, I'll cover that in a separate video, but I don't believe so. I believe these 3 are going to be at least your main ones. Or maybe you'll have a lower chance of getting all 6, but these 3 are featured. Just really hard to call on that because we haven't had enough of these to really know better, but typically that's kind of how it works. So if you're searching for a unit that's not on this banner, it's not a very good time to fart around with that. But, with the 200 Iris non-guaranteed draws, maybe they'll throw some just general pool units in there, or the whole general pool. We don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So just thought that was worth mentioning. Let's talk about Daphne. Laurel Minstrel Daphne. Okay. Notice that once again, she's all double S's with the 1 endurance single S. So very, very, very good. Just initial stats there. Also worth mentioning, this Daphne has the Beast Killer skill. So when it comes to especially Familia Royale, Familia Rush, those types of things. If you need a unit with Beast Killer, that's mostly where that comes in handy, not really Wrecker Buster or War Game. Not a bad choice for that. Beast Killer can come in clutch. Let's talk about her skills. Skill 1, Foes, plural, fast, high wind physical attack with high encounter rate. So, not really that impressive for the War Games purposes. Skill 2, Allies, fast 20% HP heal and 20% HP regen. So basically, HP heal is instantaneous, HP regen is at the end of the turn. And Foes, strength, agility, and physical resist minus 25% for 3 turns. That could be super handy. So we talked about, once again, removing those skills is kind of my preference, but if you can kind of cripple those skills, and that cripples a lot of skills. Remember, the agility skill, if you remove that actually reduces how quickly that they're able to attack. So basically, that gives her the ability to ensure that whoever you're attacking with is kind of that first person in the attack line. Okay? Windwalker. Skill 3. Allies, slow, strength, and wind attack damage plus 30% for 3 turns. Remove strength debuffs. So basically, just like you're going to debuff your opponent with that, adds that 25% reduction. If you have that skill here, the third skill, it actually has the ability to remove all that on all your allies. That could be handy. Once again, though, I generally am of the opinion that since the slow attack is going to happen at the end of a match, that's when you'd want to remove it. But I don't know that I'm all that into... I'm personally, the way I play it, I'm more into do early damage and worry about the effects later. So having that agility boost, I think, is a lot more important than having that removal. But that's me, because honestly, you're going to do that agility boost first turn, you're going to do those debuffs, you're looking turn 2 before you can remove all that, and most of your matches hopefully should be done by turn 2 or turn 3. So I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how good that third skill is. It could be handy in a lot of situations, but Wargame, unless you're in a really, really, really good fight, probably not the best thing ever. But it could come in clutch. There are situations. I'm just going to say I think I'm like middle of the road with her personally. Her essay is Ultra Wind Physical Attack, Temporary Strength Boost, and Ultra on Guard Rate, with Physical Resist and Magic Resist minus 40%, but once again, you rarely are going to do essays in Wargame. Lena, one of my absolute favorite units. She is also worth noting she's an insect killer, so when we come up again in like Familia Rush, Familia Royale, those things, against insect units, she's going to be super clutch. Star Pulse. Slow, super light physical attack with ultra encounter rate, removes strength and magic buffs. Remember, I talked about that before. She's one of those rare units that removes both of those skills. So if you have her and Lily on a team, Lily's going to take away their ability to use most types of elements. Half the elements out there. A little less than half the elements out there. Irrelevant. Some elements. Popular elements, no less. And then Lena is going to take away their ability to use light and magic. So now they're just down to whatever their stat is here. So, they could have that 1229 stat. If everything's removed, they're just that with whatever modifiers on there. So not really doing crazy damage, especially when you start adding, breastplate enhancements and ascension and all this other stuff in there. Like, you're crippling an opponent pretty effectively like that. Skill 2. This is the one I like for most everything but Wargame. Wargame not as clutch, but for most everything else, it's really awesome. Fast. It happens almost instantaneously. Increase SA gauge charge gain by 33%, and counter rate, and critical rate, and penetration rate 20%. All of that for 4 turns. The SA gauge charge thing is really, really handy if you're doing anything. Record Buster, use her. Familia Rush, use her. You guys probably saw I used her on Familia Royale. Done. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of situations where that is super ultra handy. She's actually definitely been a clutch unit when it comes to doing 7th Zone. So we got 7th Zone coming back, and it's going to be a regular thing now. So if you don't have her, great opportunity to get her. You don't need a whole lot of her. That second skill is going to be good for just about anything. You just want enough dupes that she could stay alive. So, or I often use her as a sack. You don't need dupes. If you don't have her, I think this is an excellent opportunity. Definitely, if there's anybody on here, go, and you don't have Lena, go after Lena. Because frankly, she's not just going to be good for war games. She's going to be good all over the place. All over the place. My only fear, if I'm honest, is not they brought her back. That probably means there's going to be someone shortly in the works that might kind of replace her. Because she replaced the old Lena. I think Priestess tried to, but Priestess didn't really do a good job. Really great unit. I really love this unit, and I use this unit all the time. So if there's anybody on this banner, she's my absolute number one, because it's not just for war games, it's for anything you're going to be doing in this game. I adore this unit so much. If you go back and watch any of my videos on any of the major events of the game, and you'll see I'm almost always using her. That's how much I love this unit. Lena Gesh aside, let's move on and talk about the other Eyes assist, okay? Now, it is worth noting when we're talking about the assist, I talked about this Eyes assist here, and we rattled off her stats. Strength and agility plus 20%, foes damage received, attack all and single targets by 10%. Whenever you see those skills on an assist, that is at max limit break. So if you don't have her max limit broken, you can always count, typically, and we'll talk about here, with this Eyes, at max limit, she is self, strength, and magic, and physical resist, and magic resist, 10%. Now, that's going to go down to 8% at level 60. So if you don't have any bonds in her, she is only 8% for all those stats. If you have her maxed, which means all 5 bonds, like I show up here, then she goes up to 10%. So, foes, status buff -3 turns. Now, what I think is really best for a unit like this, when it says status buff -3 turns, have her on a unit, and this is just gonna kind of give you a little, I think that's the best thing on this unit. So what you could do is you could put a unit in play that's just designed to get killed. This is how we used to do sacks back in the day before we got the revolving anklet. You'd put a unit out there that's like a 2-star or a 3-star that's literally just designed to die early game. Soon as that unit comes in, bam, they're done. I kind of like using like low-level 4-stars and let them just kind of go out there and do a couple of things. Maybe an OG ailment unit or something like that. Let them come out there, try to poison, try to seal, try to stun. And then at the end of the match, they're dead. Old girl comes in and boom, instantly, as soon as she drops, bam, status buff removal. Yes, that is a bit of a hint, a bit of a trick, and yes, it's probably a little bit of espionage that might make my familia a little bit angry, but that's the best way to use a unit like this. If you put her in the beginning, you're not using her to her full effect. That status buff -3 turns isn't going to do a whole lot when there's no buffs in play. You follow me? So I think that's the best way to use a unit like this. I think she can be really clutch. I like her a lot. I've got a few in her, but I honestly never use her because she's a harder unit to use. 100%, if there's anybody on this banner that's worth going after, Lena, because she's useful all across the board. Best unit on these banners, no questions asked. Not just for Wargame. In fact, probably a little bit less for Wargame if I'm completely frank, except that first skill could be clutch. If I'm entirely honest, best unit on this banner because she works in almost every single circumstance. Aside from war games, and even in war games, she could be handy. I've got +3 in mine. I might try to MLB mine just to see how good old girl can be, but super clutch. And that 33% SA gauge increase, remember, that is 100. If you have all 4 units on that live through the first turn, at the end of the first turn, you've got everybody's 4 people's worth of SA gauge charge and another 1 1/3. So it's like having 5.33 people charging the SA gauge, but you've only got 4. So it's super, super, super handy. Super handy. And I've recently, now someone might be able to correct me on this, but I recently found out, I believe the MP cost actually improves that a little bit. I was farting around last night and building different stacks. It depended on whether I got double SA at turn. Sometimes I get it at turn 5 rather than turn 6. So a lot of times you could sit there and fart around with the numbers, but I'd have to do a little bit more research on that and really like solidify that knowledge. But super clutch unit, can't say enough. If you're going for anybody on either of these 2 banners, I think this banner is hands down the banner to go for, and Lena is the unit to go for. No questions asked. My opinion, you can 100% disagree with me if you'd like, and I would like to have the conversation in the comments section down below, but I really think Lena is, without question or doubt, the best unit out there. Let's talk about, not out there in general, let me rephrase that, best unit on those 2 banners. Let's talk about the 2 new incoming units for episodes 39 and 40. And I'm going to start with Freya. You thought I was going to start with Otaru, but I'm going to start with Freya. Okay. Freya is a new assist, as you would kind of expect. She is once again self-ailment resist plus 100%. 100% ailment resistance. You heard me. That's at MLB. She'll be 75, which is still super clutch at level 60, but I'm going to be real with you guys. If you're using an assist, you want to use assists that are 100%. I am going to be going hard for these 2 units. Super hard. I'm probably going to be wailing for them, in fact. I want these 2 units a lot. Mostly because I need Otaru. Well, I don't need Otaru. My dark team is already crazy good. But I'd love to have Otaru for my dark team. But 100% ailment resistance, that's only on the unit she's tied to, though. Do bear that in mind. But you put that on a really, really, really great unit, and you're going to be rocking Wargame. She is broken for Wargame in that respect. My opinion. So, yeah, that's a thing. Ailment resist plus 100%. Strength, magic, physical resist, and magic resist. Strength, 20%. Magic, 20%. Physical resist, 20%. Magic resist, 20%. We rarely have somebody that does that one stat. Remember I was talking about the Artemis assist that does 15 across the board and 20 to the unit? Normally, a unit only does 20 singularly. She does strength and magic, 20%. She has physical resist. Physical resist usually is like 10 to 15%. She has physical resist and magic resist, 20%. She is going to basically be the ultimate shield on whoever she is attached to. And her stats are pretty good. Not the end of the world. A strength stat and a magic stat at 406 is not the best by a long shot. But with what she does and everything she boosts, It's going to be well worthwhile. I will say there's probably other units out there. I'd have to go look at what Artemis and those other units do that probably have higher physical boosts or higher magic boosts. And so it might be that the 20% actually kind of... Well, because 20% is going to go off your unit stats too. So even then, like 15% with those low stats would kind of be insulting. But... And I won't say low stats. 50% with 400, 400 level stat isn't insulting, but it is definitely not the best. But 20% with that tied to whatever unit is, plus CP, plus all that, that is phenomenal. That is a really, really good assist right there. But as I said before, if you're low on Iris, if you're not doing a lot of this, do bear in mind, you probably... How do I word this, man? You probably don't want to go too crazy on a unit like this unless you are intended to 100% MLB this unit. She's awesome. She's worth it. But we've got a new meta probably incoming in less than 2 months. And you really, really, really want to pay attention to that. Really want to pay attention to that. So, I think she's great. If anybody wants to MLB her, more power to you, go for it. If you're going to just get her for collection purposes, I think it's personally a waste. My 2 cents in the matter. She's only going to be best if she's MLB'd. If she's anything less than that, she's just going to kind of be an okay unit. You can expect her stats to be ammo resist 75% and probably 12%, I'm going to guess. 12 or 13, yeah, probably 12% for the other stats. For her main buffs. So, and also remember her number is going to be way, 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 way lower. So with assists, and I'll say this one more time for the people in the back, with assists, unless you're going to MLB them, don't bother. That's my opinion. My opinion. But you can always get her, hold on to her, and collect those bonds as time goes on. And she's not time limited. None of these units are time limited, in fact. So you'll be able to pretty much... I don't think they're time limited. Not. So yeah, they're not time limited. So you can always use prism bonds at some point. Though I'm going to argue that star bonds are actually easier to come by in this day and age. But that's my opinion. Let me know what y'all think. But I'll be going hard on her, frankly. I'm probably going to do her and Otaru instead of the whale boxes. Personally. Let's talk about Otaru. Triple S strength stat. I mean, what more do you want? Sorry the images are a little blurry on these two. That's how they came on the live stream. Otaru. And once again, I will mention, this is the first time that we've had a big modifier on a temporary boost. So, that's going to tell you what this dude's going to be capable of. Basically, for my Dragon Ball Z people, he's getting a rage boost. It's 100% Otaru's getting a rage boost here. So, skill 1. Foe singular, super dark physical attack with ultra critical rate for every strength buff on himself, skill damage plus 40%. Skill 2, fast strength dark damage, physical resist and magic resist plus 50% for 4 turns. I'll say this again, because if you now start seeing what Freya is capable of, Freya attached to Otaru. So, fast, strength, dark, physical resist, and magic resist. What more do you need? 50% for 4 turns. Okay? That physical resist and magic resist. Now pay attention. Freya is then going to give him another 20% strength, 20% physical resist, and 20% magic resist. Are you starting to see where Otaru is going to be damn near invincible? Yeah. I rest my case on these two. And it's a fast skill, so it's going to be the first thing he gets off. Skill 3 is a foes, plural, super dark physical attack with ultra penetration rate, temporary strength boost, strength and dark damage plus 50% for 4 turns. Okay? So, you're basically going to do skill 2 and then either skill 1 for single targets, skill 3 for AoE. That's simple. That's super simple. His SA is a foes, plural, worth noting, foes, plural, ultra dark physical attack with ultra unguard rate and big temporary strength boost. And self strength and dark damage, physical resist, and magic resist plus 60% for 5 turns. Now, that is a heavy hit. Put Haruhime on that, give him the 100% strength boost, and put Freya on that, and start watching these numbers go through the roof. If you've got a dark team, you want Otaru. I'm just saying it right now. If you want a dark team, if you've got a dark team, you want Otaru. If you can MLB the 2 of them, good luck. If you can MLB the 2 of them, though, it will be 100% worth. And I'm going to try. So, I like these units a lot. But I've got a really good dark team. I don't know what tonight's Record Buster is going to be, but it looked like it was going to be light, so maybe dark is going to be good for it. And usually, and I will say, whatever the current banner is, Record Buster kind of emulates that. So in other words, I'm suspecting dark is probably going to have the best favorability because they want you to pull in these banners. Let's think about this logically. They've got a new banner out. They want you to pull in the banner. Logical, right? Totally logical. Now, for my EU players, I will say 100% go get Lena. You want Lena 100% if you don't have her, because I don't think most of you have had much of an opportunity to get her. So EU guys, get her, and thank me later. For everybody else, if you got a dark team, 100%. But once again, I will say, if you're going after Freya, don't mess around. Go for the MLB, or at least have Prism Bonds or something like that ready, because she might not be terribly forgiving in that regard. Anyway, guys, that's the video. Let me know what y'all think in the comments section down below. This has been a long one, but I appreciate y'all sticking with me. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow my Birdman, hit me up on Booker. I'll be back at you guys with more Damachi here shortly. We got familia stuff to talk about.